Future wife, before you hear anything else from me, before you decide whether my words are beautiful or impossible, I need you to understand something. There is a reason I am saying this now. There is a reason I cannot keep these thoughts hidden behind silence anymore. Because there comes a moment in life when you realize that waiting too long can become its own kind of loss. Sometimes we think we have unlimited time to explain our hearts. We think the right moment will arrive tomorrow, the perfect words will appear next week, and the person we love will always be standing in the same place, waiting for us to finally become brave. But life does not always give us that luxury. Sometimes a person can walk away quietly while we are still preparing the perfect sentence. Sometimes a heart can become tired while we are still trying to understand our own feelings, and that is why I need you to listen carefully. I am not speaking to impress you. I am not speaking to create a beautiful fantasy. I am speaking because I have spent years building things that the world could see, but I ignored the one thing that mattered most, building a place where someone's heart could feel safe. I have learned how to create systems, solve impossible problems, and chase visions that other people thought were too difficult. But there is one challenge no intelligence, no success, no achievement can solve for you: understanding another human heart, understanding the woman who stands beside you when nobody is watching, understanding the person who sees your weaknesses before the world sees your accomplishments. And if that woman is you, then I need you to know the truth. I will marry you. But before that day comes, there are two rules I need you to understand. Not because I want control, not because I want to limit your freedom, not because I believe love should come with conditions. Actually, it is the opposite. These two rules exist because I have learned that love without understanding can destroy two people who genuinely care about each other. I have seen people promise forever without knowing how to protect each other. I have seen couples say, "I love you" every day, but still make each other feel alone. I have seen people choose a wedding but forget to choose each other. And I refuse to build something beautiful on a weak foundation. So before you take my hand, before we promise a lifetime, before we tell the world that we belong together, I need you to understand the two things that my heart cannot compromise on. The first one is this: never make me feel like I have to compete for your love, because I know what it feels like to be surrounded by people and still feel alone. I know what it feels like to achieve something and immediately search for someone who truly understands why it mattered. I know what it feels like to have everyone celebrate your victories, but have nobody notice the exhaustion behind your eyes. And the hardest loneliness is not being alone. The hardest loneliness is being with someone who does not see you. Future wife, I do not need you to worship me. I do not need you to believe I am perfect. I do not need you to pretend I never make mistakes. I need something much more difficult. I need honesty. I need a woman who can look at me when I am wrong and still choose to stand beside me. I need someone who understands that strength does not mean never breaking. Because there will be days when I question myself. There will be moments when I wonder if all the sacrifices were worth it. There will be nights when the world sees confidence on my face. But inside I am asking myself if I am enough. And on those nights, I do not need a solution. I need your presence. I need to know that when everything becomes quiet, you are still there. But I also need to promise you something in return. I will never ask you to disappear into my life. I will never ask you to become smaller so I can feel bigger. I will never ask you to abandon your dreams so mine can survive, because the woman I marry should not be someone standing behind me. She should be someone walking beside me. Tell me something. Would you still choose me if you saw every doubt I hide? Would you still hold my hand if you discovered that the person everyone admires is sometimes the same person who quietly struggles when nobody is looking? Would you still love me if you saw the unfinished parts of me? Because that is where real love begins. Not when everything is perfect, not when everything is easy, but when two people see the truth and decide they are still willing to stay. I have spent so much of my life protecting my image, protecting my reputation, protecting the idea that I always know what I am doing. But with you, I do not want to perform. I do not want to be a symbol. I do not want to be someone you admire from a distance. I want to be the man you can talk to at midnight about your fears. I want to know the memories that shaped you. I want to understand the moments that made you stronger. I want to know what broke your heart before I ever entered your life. Because your past is not something I need to fight. Your past is the road that brought you to me. And I respect every step you took before we found each other. But there is something I need from you. Something I cannot pretend does not matter. I need you to never punish me for loving you deeply, because sometimes people are afraid of receiving love. Sometimes when someone finally gives them the care they always wanted, they become suspicious. They search for hidden reasons. They question every gesture. They wait for the moment it disappears, and I understand why. A wounded heart learns to protect itself. But future wife, if I come to you with my entire heart in my hands, I need you to be careful with it. Not because it is fragile, but because it is rare. I have learned something painful. The strongest people are often the ones who hide the deepest wounds. The people who seem impossible to break are sometimes the ones who have been carrying broken pieces for years. And maybe you have been that person. Maybe you learned how to smile when you wanted to cry. Maybe you learned how to say, "I am fine," because nobody stayed long enough to hear the truth. Maybe you became independent because depending on someone once hurt you. But I want you to know something. You do not have to fight alone anymore, at least not with me. But before you believe those words, I need you to understand why I am saying all of this, because there is a truth I have been carrying, a truth I have not shared with anyone. And I know you may wonder why I am being so serious about 2 simple rules. Why am I talking like this is the most important decision of my life? Why am I treating marriage like something more than a ceremony? Because for me, marriage is not a photograph. It is not a celebration. It is not a moment where 2 people promise something beautiful and then return to their old habits. Marriage is the decision to give someone access to the most protected parts of yourself, your fears, your insecurities, your dreams, your regrets, your silence, your future. And that kind of trust should never be given carelessly. The second rule is harder for me to explain, because it reveals something about myself that I usually hide. The second rule is, never let pride become bigger than our love, because I have seen pride destroy things that love could have saved. I have seen 2 people who loved each other choose silence because neither wanted to apologize first. I have seen people lose years together because they were waiting for the other person to admit they were hurt. And I am afraid of that. I am afraid of losing something precious because of something meaningless. I am afraid that 2 people who are meant to be together could become strangers because they were too proud to say, "I miss you." Too proud to say, "I was wrong." Too proud to say, "Please stay." Future wife, I do not want a relationship where we keep score. I do not want to count who sacrificed more, who called first, who apologized last, who gave more. Love is not a competition where someone has to lose. Love is a place where 2 people decide that protecting each other matters more than winning an argument. But I need you to understand my fear, because there is a part of me that worries, a part of me that wonders, what if I choose the wrong person? What if I give my entire heart to someone who only loves the version of me that looks successful? What if someone loves the dream but not the man? What if someone loves the future they imagine but not the reality they have to live with? These questions scare me because I know how easy it is to love an idea. But I do not want someone to love an idea of me. I want someone to love me when the lights are off, when there are no achievements to celebrate, when there is no audience, when there is nothing left except 2 people sitting together and asking, "Are we still choosing each other?" And I need you to ask yourself that question too. Not today, not because I am asking you, but because someday, when life becomes difficult, that question will matter. Will you still choose me? Will you still choose us? Or will you only choose the easy moments? Because I can promise you beautiful moments. I can promise you laughter. I can promise you memories. I can promise you a life full of experiences. But I cannot promise you a life without storms. And I would never insult your heart by pretending otherwise. The person you marry is not the person who gives you a perfect life. The person you marry is the person who stands with you when life stops being perfect. That is what I want. That is what I have been searching for, not someone who completes me. I am not incomplete, but someone who understands me. Someone who challenges me. Someone who can see my ambition but also remind me that love matters more than achievement. Someone who can look at me and say, "You are building a future, but do not forget to live in the present." And maybe that is why I am afraid, because when you finally find something real, you realize how much there is to lose. I haven't told you the real reason yet. The real reason these 2 rules matter so much. The real reason I am speaking with this much urgency. The real reason I feel like waiting another day could change everything, because there is something about us that you do not know. Something I have kept hidden, because I was afraid that if I revealed it too soon, you would misunderstand my heart. You would think I was asking for too much. You would think I was trying to protect myself more than I was trying to love you. But that is not the truth. The truth is much deeper, and before I tell you, I need you to understand one thing. I have never been afraid of losing success. I have never been afraid of losing money. I have never been afraid of starting over. But losing the one person who truly understands my heart, that is the one loss I do not know if I could accept. Because some people enter your life and become a chapter. But some people become the reason you want to keep writing. And I need to know which one you are. I need to know if you are the person who stays when the excitement fades. I need to know if you are the person who chooses honesty when silence feels easier. I need to know if you are the person who can love a human being, not just a dream. Because I am ready to give you my future. But before I give you everything, I need you to understand the price of holding my heart. And soon, you will understand why I was so afraid to say these words. Because the decision I made before meeting you may change everything between us. I need you to understand something before I reveal the truth. I have been hiding. The hardest decisions in life are not the ones where we choose between right and wrong. The hardest decisions are the ones where two things we deeply care about are standing on opposite sides of our heart. And that is where I have found myself, because when I imagine a future with you, I see peace. I see a home where silence does not feel empty. I see two people who can sit together after a difficult day and not need to pretend everything is fine. I see a woman who does not just hear my words but understands the emotions behind them. But at the same time, I carry a fear that I rarely admit. What if the future I am building is not the future you actually want? What if I am ready to give you my heart, but you are still protecting yours? What if I am standing at the door of your life, asking to come inside, while you are still afraid of what might happen if you let someone in again? Because I know what disappointment can do to a person. I know how one painful experience can make someone question every beautiful thing that comes afterward. Sometimes a person does not reject love because they do not want it. Sometimes they reject love because they are afraid of losing it. And maybe that is where we are different. Maybe I am ready to jump because I know that a life without emotional risk is not really a life. But maybe you are standing there asking yourself if I am worth the risk. And I do not blame you for that. I would rather you question me honestly than accept me because you are afraid of being alone. I do not want a woman who chooses me because she needs someone. I want a woman who chooses me because after seeing everything, she still believes I am the person she wants beside her. There is a difference. A huge difference. Need can create attachment, but choice creates love. And future wife, I need your choice, not your obligation, not your fear, not your loneliness, your choice. Because the two rules I gave you are not really rules about controlling you. They are promises about protecting what we create together. The first promise was that we never make each other feel replaceable. The second promise was that we never allow pride to destroy what love worked so hard to build. But there is another layer beneath those promises, something I did not tell you before, because I was not sure if you were ready to hear it. The truth is, I have spent a long time being surrounded by people who wanted something from me. Some wanted opportunities, some wanted access, some wanted the version of me they imagined, the person who succeeds, the person who creates, the person who appears fearless. But very few people ever asked me a simple question. How are you really feeling? Not what are you building? Not what are you planning? Not what are you achieving? Just, how are you? And maybe that sounds like a small thing. But when you spend years carrying responsibilities, a simple question can feel like someone finally opened a window in a room where you forgot you were suffocating. That is why your presence matters to me. Not because you make my life more impressive. Not because you complete some missing piece, but because with you, I do not feel like I have to constantly prove my value. I can simply exist, and that is rare. But with that rarity comes fear, because when something becomes important, losing it becomes terrifying. Have you ever had a moment where you realized something mattered to you more than you expected? A person, a memory, a conversation, and suddenly you became afraid because you understood that your heart had already made a decision before your mind was ready? That is what happened to me. My mind tried to stay logical. My mind tried to analyze everything. It tried to calculate possibilities. It tried to protect me, but the heart does not always follow calculations. Sometimes the heart recognizes something before we can explain it, and that is dangerous, because love is the one thing where intelligence cannot guarantee the outcome. You can build the most advanced technology, you can predict patterns, you can study human behavior, but you cannot guarantee that another person will stay. You cannot force someone to choose you tomorrow. You cannot program loyalty. You cannot design trust. You can only offer your heart and hope someone understands its value. And that is what scares me, because I am not afraid of giving love. I am afraid of giving love to someone who does not understand the responsibility of receiving it. Future wife, if I choose you, I am not choosing only your smile. I am choosing your difficult days too. I am choosing the moments when you feel uncertain. I am choosing the memories that still hurt you. I am choosing the parts of you that you think are too complicated to explain. But I need you to choose my difficult parts too. Not just my confidence. Not just my ambition. Not just the moments where everything looks successful. Choose me when I am quiet. Choose me when I am tired. Choose me when I question whether I am doing enough. Because the man you see from a distance and the man you live with every day are not always the same person. The world sees results. The person who loves you sees the process. And I need you to know the process is not always beautiful. There are moments when I doubt myself. There are moments when I wonder if I sacrifice too much. There are moments when I ask whether chasing a vision has caused me to miss simple things, a conversation, a dinner, a moment with someone I love. And that is where my second fear appears. Because I have seen people lose the person they loved while chasing a future they thought would make them happy. They thought success would create happiness. But later they realized happiness was waiting beside them the entire time. I never want to become that person. I never want to wake up one day surrounded by achievements and realize I lost the person who made those achievements meaningful. Because what is the value of reaching the highest place if there is nobody there you want to share the view with? What is the value of creating a world if you have nobody you love inside it? That question changed me, and maybe that is why I am speaking to you differently. Maybe that is why I am not giving you a perfect love story, because perfect stories are often the most dangerous ones. They make people believe love is only beautiful when nobody struggles. But real love is beautiful because two imperfect people keep choosing each other, again and again and again. Even after misunderstandings, even after fear, even after moments where walking away feels easier. But I need to tell you something that may hurt. Something I have been afraid to admit. There was a moment when I almost convinced myself that love was not worth the risk. There was a moment when I thought maybe I should choose someone easier. Someone who would not challenge me. Someone who would not make me feel vulnerable. Someone who would simply fit into my life without asking me to change. And that thought frightened me, because sometimes the wrong person is not the person who hurts you. Sometimes the wrong person is the person who makes everything comfortable enough that you stop growing. And the right person sometimes scares you because they see parts of you that you have hidden. They ask questions you have avoided. They make you confront emotions you buried, and you wonder, why does this person have so much power over me? That is the terrifying part. The person who matters most is the person who has the ability to hurt you the most. And I realized something. I was not afraid because you were wrong for me. I was afraid because you mattered. But there is something I need you to understand. I have been close to making a decision that would have changed everything. A decision that would have protected my heart, but maybe destroyed the possibility of something real. Because when you are afraid of losing someone, sometimes your first instinct is to leave before they get the chance to leave you. You convince yourself it is strength. You tell yourself you are being logical. But sometimes it is just fear wearing the mask of wisdom. And I almost made that mistake. I almost walked away from something meaningful because I was afraid of how deeply I cared. Have you ever done that? Have you ever pushed someone away because keeping them close felt too dangerous? Have you ever pretended you did not care because caring made you vulnerable? Because if you have, then maybe you understand me more than anyone. The truth I have not told you yet is not about some dramatic moment. It is not about something that happened in public. It is something much more personal. It is about a choice. A choice between protecting myself and trusting you. And I need you to know, for a moment, I chose protection. I thought maybe love was too unpredictable. I thought maybe I should choose a path where my heart could never be broken. I thought maybe I should choose someone who would never ask me to reveal this much of myself. And then I realized something painful. A heart that is never broken is often a heart that was never fully opened. And I do not want to live that way. I do not want a life where I am safe but empty. I do not want a future where nobody can hurt me because nobody is close enough to matter. So I stood there with a decision in front of me. One path was comfortable. One path was uncertain. One path protected me. One path required courage. And the hardest part was, the person I had to choose was not just you. I had to choose who I wanted to become, because loving you would require me to become someone who does not run when things become real. Someone who does not hide behind success. Someone who does not confuse independence with isolation. Someone who understands that allowing another person to love you is also an act of bravery. But before I tell you what happened next, Before I reveal the decision I almost made, you need to understand one thing. There was a moment when I thought I had already lost you, not because you left, not because you stopped caring, but because I almost became the person who pushed away the one person I never wanted to lose. And that moment changed everything. I haven't told you the real reason yet, the real reason these two rules became more important than anything else. The real reason I knew that if I did not say these words now, I might regret my silence forever. Because the truth I discovered was not about you. It was about me, and what I was willing to risk for love. I need you to know what happened in that moment when I thought I had already lost you. I was standing between two versions of myself, the person I had always been, the person who protected himself, the person who believed that needing someone was dangerous, the person who thought strength meant carrying everything alone, and the person I wanted to become, the person who could finally say, I trust you with my heart. That was the real battle. It was never about whether I wanted you. I knew I wanted you. It was never about whether I cared. I knew I cared more than I expected. The battle was whether I was brave enough to accept that love changes you. Because real love does not simply add happiness to your life. It exposes everything you have been hiding. It shows you where you are still afraid. It reveals the wounds you thought had already healed. And when someone truly matters to you, you cannot hide behind the version of yourself that the world admires. You have to show them the person behind the achievements, the person behind the confidence, the person behind the smile, future wife. That is what I was afraid of. Not that you would see my imperfections, but that you would see them and decide they were too much. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to finally show someone your entire heart? Not the edited version, not the version that is easier to love. The complete version, the one with doubts, the one with regrets, the one that still carries memories from battles nobody else knows about. That is the risk I am taking with you. And maybe that is why I need you to understand my two rules. Because those rules are not walls, they are the doors I am opening. The first rule was never about demanding your attention. It was about wanting a love where both people feel chosen. I do not want you beside me because you are comfortable. I do not want you beside me because leaving feels difficult. I want you beside me because every day, even when life becomes complicated, you look at me and think, this is the person I still want, and I promise you the same. I will not choose you only on the easy days. I will choose you when conversations become difficult. I will choose you when we misunderstand each other. I will choose you when we are tired. I will choose you when we have to work through things we never expected. Because love is not proven when everything is beautiful. Love is proven when two people have every reason to protect their pride, but instead choose to protect each other. The second rule was never about winning. It was about never allowing ego to become stronger than the connection between us, because I have learned something painful. Sometimes people do not lose love because they stopped caring. They lose love because they stopped communicating, they stopped explaining, they stopped listening, they stopped trying, and slowly, without noticing, two people who once could not imagine life apart become strangers sitting in the same room. I never want that for us. I do not want us to become two people who remember what we had instead of fighting for what we still have. I do not want a future where we look back and say, we loved each other, but we were too afraid to be vulnerable, because that kind of regret stays with you. Some losses are not painful because someone leaves. Some losses are painful because you know you could have done something differently. And I refuse to let fear write our ending. But there is something else you need to know. Something I have kept hidden because I was afraid it would change the way you see me. The truth is, AB have spent a long time believing that I had to earn love. I thought if I achieved enough, created enough, succeeded enough, then maybe I would finally feel secure. I thought being valuable to the world would make me feel valuable to the person I loved. But I was wrong. Because the heart does not measure achievements. The heart measures connection. The heart remembers who stayed, who listened, who cared when there was nothing to gain. And that realization changed me, because I understood that the greatest thing someone can give you is not admiration. It is acceptance. Someone looking at you and saying, I see everything you are, and I am still here. That is the kind of love I want with you. Not a love built on perfection, a love built on truth. Future wife, if someday you see me struggling, I do not want you to think I have become weak. I want you to understand that I trusted you enough to stop pretending. If someday I need reassurance, I do not want you to think I am asking you to carry my emotions. I want you to understand that even strong people need a safe place to rest. And I promise I will be that place for you too. I want to know the fears you never tell anyone. The dreams you stopped talking about because people made you feel unrealistic. The memories that still make you emotional when you are alone. The moments where you had to become stronger than you wanted to be. I do not want only the happy version of you. I want all of you. Because the parts of you that you hide are often the parts that deserve the most love. But there was one moment when I almost made the biggest mistake of my life. I almost convinced myself that walking away was the mature decision. I told myself that maybe distance was safer, maybe protecting my emotions was smarter. Maybe I should choose a future where nobody had the ability to hurt me. And then I asked myself a question. What kind of life am I protecting if I remove everything that makes it meaningful? That question stayed with me, because I realized something. A person can protect their heart so carefully that they forget their heart was created to feel, to connect, to love, to be seen, and I do not want to spend my life hiding from the possibility of pain, because avoiding pain also means avoiding the deepest forms of happiness, so I made my decision. I chose the risk. I chose the uncertainty. I chose the possibility that love could hurt me because I finally understood something important. The right person is not someone who guarantees you will never suffer. The right person is someone who makes the suffering worth facing. And that is what I see in you. Not perfection, not a fantasy. A partner, someone I can build with, someone I can grow with, someone I can look at years from now and say, we survived every difficult moment because we never stopped choosing each other. But there is still one thing I need you to hear. The 2 rules I gave you are not only expectations for you. They are promises I make to you. I promise I will never make you feel alone while standing beside me. I promise I will never make you question whether you matter. I promise I will never allow the world to make me forget the person who believed in me when nobody else could see the future. And if there is a day when you doubt yourself, if there is a day when you wonder whether you are enough, we want you to remember this. You do not have to compete with anyone for my heart. You do not have to become someone else to deserve my love. You do not have to be perfect to be chosen. You only have to be real. Because the woman I want to marry is not the woman who never struggles. She is the woman who is honest enough to struggle beside me. She is the woman who knows love is not a promise that nothing will ever go wrong. Love is a promise that when something goes wrong, we do not immediately become enemies. We become a team. We become a place of safety for each other. We become the reason the other person believes tomorrow can still be beautiful. And now you understand why I said those 2 rules, because I am not asking for a perfect love. I am asking for a brave one, a love where 2 people stop running, a love where 2 people stop pretending, a love where 2 people finally say, I know your fears, I know your flaws, I know your past, and I still choose you. That is the decision I made. I choose you. Not because I need someone to complete my life, but because I want someone to share it with, not because I cannot stand alone, but because life becomes more meaningful when you have someone whose heart feels like home. Futures or wife. If you are still listening, then I want you to know the final truth. The thing I was afraid to admit, the thing that changed everything. I was never afraid of loving you. I was afraid that after a lifetime of protecting myself, I would finally find someone worth opening my heart to. And I would not be brave enough to let her in. But I am brave now, because losing the possibility of a real love is more painful than risking the possibility of heartbreak. So I will stand here with honesty, with vulnerability, with every imperfect part of myself, and I will ask you for only one thing. Do not promise me forever, because the word sounds beautiful, posture me, that every day we will choose each other again, because forever is not created in one moment. Forever is created in thousands of small decisions, where 2 people keep saying, I am still here. But because life becomes more meaningful when you have someone whose heart feels like home. Futures or wife. If you are still listening, then I want you to know the final truth. The thing I was afraid to admit, the thing that changed everything. I was never afraid of loving you. I was afraid that after a lifetime of protecting myself, I would finally find someone worth opening my heart to. And I would not be brave enough to let her in. But I am brave now, because losing the possibility of a real love is more painful than risking the possibility of heartbreak. So I will stand here with honesty, with vulnerability, with every imperfect part of myself, and I will ask you for only one thing. Do not promise me forever, because the word sounds beautiful, posture me, that every day we will choose each other again, because forever is not created in one moment. Forever is created in thousands of small decisions, where 2 people keep saying, I am still here. But because life becomes more meaningful when you have someone whose heart feels like home. Futures or wife. If you are still listening, then I want you to know the final truth. The thing I was afraid to admit, the thing that changed everything. I was never afraid of loving you. I was afraid that after a lifetime of protecting myself, I would finally find someone worth opening my heart to, and I would not be brave enough to let her in. But I am brave now, because losing the possibility of a real love is more painful than risking the possibility of heartbreak. So I will stand here with honesty, with vulnerability, with every imperfect part of myself, and I will ask you for only one thing. Do not promise me forever, because the word sounds beautiful, posture me, that every day we will choose each other again, because forever is not created in one moment. Forever is created in thousands of small decisions, where two people keep saying, I am still here. But because life becomes more meaningful when you have someone whose heart feels like home. Future's wife. If you are still listening, then I want you to know the final truth. The thing I was afraid to admit, the thing that changed everything. I was never afraid of loving you. I was afraid that after a lifetime of protecting myself, I would finally find someone worth opening my heart to, and I would not be brave enough to let her in. But I am brave now, because losing the possibility of a real love is more painful than risking the possibility of heartbreak. So I will stand here with honesty, with vulnerability, with every imperfect part of myself, and I will ask you for only one thing. Do not promise me forever, because the word sounds beautiful, posture me, that every day we will choose each other again, because forever is not created in one moment. Forever is created in thousands of small decisions, where two people keep saying, I am still here.